recording. Hey
All
y'all,
right.
what's happening, y'all? China El Costa, also known as Chinese. So, I'm doing this film reaction, Zoom collaboration series. Started with Ma Rainey Black Bottom. I did also did Dinner Rush. And now we're going to do a film reaction to Sylvie's Love, written and directed by Eugene Ash, starring Tessa Thompson and Namdi, I forget his last name, forgive me. I'm joined here with Sergio Mims. Sergio, you want to introduce yourself and what you do, your specialty?
Wait
And
a minute. Well, I'm Sergio Mims. I'm a film programmer, Black Harvest Film Festival. I don't like to call myself a critic anymore. I like to call myself a film journalist, and also DVD commentator. And what else do I do? I'm on two podcasts weekly, Movie Madness and also Afro Nerd Podcast.
nice.
Um, it's just a whole bunch of things, you know.
Okay.
And fortunately, I can do most of it from home, considering the situation we're in now. But I long to be back again out in the real world.
I know, me too. Me too. So Sergio and I are I know I met him in Chicago at Black Harvest Film Festival in 2000 actually. And
Wow, that long ago?
that long
Wow.
ago, 20 years ago, oh my God. And I learned so much from these short films and feature films and documentaries and panel discussions. And then I was blessed to have my film Dark Sea be screened at Black Harvest Film Festival, where he's one of the programmers in 2016 of August. So we respect each other as human beings, as art enthusiasts. So going to the film Sylvie's Love. So let's start with how it impacted you. You want to start with either components like the cinematography, the story itself, or the performances, whichever
Well,
one you want.
let me just talk about the film overall.
Okay.
It's an intentionally very old-fashioned. Um, I don't want to use the word slight because this we're going to it's a lot deeper than what most people realize. But it's a very old-fashioned love story. It's very much reminiscent, or it wants to copy films such as Douglas Sirk of the 1950s, that very lush, deep Technicolor look in his movies such as Wild as the Wind or Magnificent Obsession or Imitation of Life. They had a certain look, very deep, rich colors,
Mhm.
interesting use of shadows. Interestingly, this movie it takes place in New York, but was shot entirely in Los Angeles, which
Yes.
means they had to shoot it in sound studios,
Hmm.
which also gives the film that very almost elegant look. Also, the fact it was shot on film; it wasn't shot digitally. But
Yes.
interestingly, they shot on 16 Super 16,
Hmm.
which also gives added grain to the film to give it a sort of texture that I'm not the biggest fan of digital work because it makes everything look too shiny.
Are you a film
And
snob?
yeah, I am. I have no bones about that. It makes everything look too shiny and
Yes.
plastic and artificial. I'm not saying there's some good stuff. I've seen some movies where I could say, if that's shot on film and digital, it's really well done. But a lot of time it
The red
looks like,
camera. Yeah.
yeah, it looks like, it's a bit too shiny. But okay, fine. Um, and
An
as I said
accessibility
before,
thing.
hmm?
It's an economic and accessibility thing. Digital cameras for indie filmmakers, right?
Well, gee, you mean Super 16 isn't cheap anymore? Back in the day, Super 16 was the way to go if you didn't have the money for 35.
Is it
You
the
could
same
shoot a
amount?
sip.
Is it the same like value as a digital camera? Is it the same price range?
See, I don't know. I
I
don't
don't think
know.
it is.
I don't know. Back in the day, that was filmmakers. If you didn't have a lot of money, you shot on Super 16. So, like, hey, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was shot in Super 16. A lot of films you may know and like were shot in Super 16 because they just simply didn't have the money to do it. So I was wondering, is it now even more expensive to shoot on Super 16 than it is digital? I don't know. I don't know. You know? But anyway, that's beside the point.
Right, back to Sophie's Love. Yeah.
Yeah, back to Sophie Love. And well, I want to get more into it later because I
Okay.
saw a real interesting comment by the lead actor, whose name I'm trying to look up right now. I know it's kind of, I don't want to say uh, uh, Kerry Washington's husband. That's who he
Exactly.
is in real
And
life.
his first name is pronounced
Right.
Namdi.
Who
I
was
do
the
know that. I do
Yeah,
know that.
I'll get in a few minutes.
I'm
And
pulling it up
he,
too. Oh,
I
Namdi
think he's from Louisiana.
Osumuga.
I think he's from,
I have it right here on IMDb.
yeah, he's originally from Louisiana.
He is from,
I
according to
think
this, he is from
I think he's from
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was from somewhere in the South, right?
Hmm.
So I don't know if that
Do you have traveling parents or
I don't
something?
know his background. I
Me
don't
neither.
know what yeah, were his parents, immigrants, or did he change his name? You remember back in the day when black people would change their name to
In the
African names?
70s?
Remember that? I don't think that happens much anymore now.
No.
Um, I'm
It's
trying to find out something about his background, which I cannot find here. It doesn't say. It
okay.
doesn't say. Oh, wait a minute. Um, yeah, his parents are evidently immigrants. His mother, Lillian Ashimunga, um, works to position widows and orphans in Africa for economic success. So, yeah, his parents were Nigerian.
Oh, he first
I
generation.
should say
First
are
generation.
Nigerian.
First generation. Okay.
Yeah, United States, right? Which brings up another interesting question I want to get into later.
Okay.
And it's really more involved with Ma Rainey, but it also, I think, applies to this movie too. And we'll get into that, okay? Because I really want to hear your comments on it.
I
All
will
right,
say I did okay.
go
What
ahead.
I appreciated about this film is the color palette. I love the rich, vibrant, bold colors that captivated my eyes. Um, I was drawn to the costumes, and I like the music score. Nancy Wilson, I believe Nat King Cole, and other artists of the recording artists of the past. I mean, you can't go wrong with that kind of music. It sets the right mood, it sets the right tone. Um, and I appreciated that, and I did appreciate the performances of Tessa Thompson and the actor who played Chico, and Lacey, her who played her husband, and I appreciated Nona, the young lady who played the cousin,
Right, yeah.
and the gentleman who played the father. Those performances drew me in most of all.
Yeah, I should say in terms of the cinematography, it was done by Delclin Quinn, and he's been around for a long time.
Okay.
He's shot a lot of movies. He's done Hollywood movies. He's done independent films. He's done music videos. He's shot a lot of films, and also I think he's also done some work in Europe as well. So
Okay.
he's been around the game. So when I saw his name on the credits, you know it's going to look good because his work is always great.
Okay. Beautiful.
Right. Um,
And it looked good.
yeah, that's why Delton Quinn. Oh, Delton Quinn, like God, she's been around since the '80s. I think
It was
early
very
'80s.
eye. It was very eye catching. Very eye
Right.
catching.
So he knows how to shoot. He knows how the light. He knows the right look. You know.
Mhm.
Um, but aside from that, right, one of the things I like about the movie. This sounds ironic, is its predictability. You know where's it going.
I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, I'm okay with that too because
So
there's
let's
a plot twist that happens about a third into the movie, and I said, "Well, I saw that coming," you know. Um, the fact that they keep getting together and then they break up and then they get together and they break up. I said, "Well, okay, I can see that coming." All right. But that's what's really nice in the sense that we don't really get to see a lot of black. First of all, we just don't get to see a lot of black love stories. Period. Okay.
Mhm.
And also, this is a black love story that didn't have. Okay, this was not what I call a struggle love movie. Okay.
Meaning.
Um. Okay. Give you a perfect example. Right.
Hmm.
Um. There's a documentary that's out now that everybody's raving about called Time. It's a documentary, and it premiered at Sundance. Um, we almost had it for Black Harvest, but I something just fell through at the last minute. But it's a documentary about it was about this couple. I think, oh gosh, I think it's Louisiana or Atlanta. It's somewhere in the South.
Okay.
And the background was this couple. They, like I said, this is a documentary. This is not a feature film. They wanted to open a clothing store, a for kid, a clothing store, and they opened up the store and they ran into financial trouble. So they did a really smart thing. They decided to pull off a couple of bank robberies. Okay. And eventually they got caught, of course. Um, and the husband wound up getting like 60 years. Now, one of the things about this movie, it doesn't explain why he got 60 years. If you read the
Mm.
background, um, basically he made some really dumb moves with his lawyer team. Okay, but
Okay.
nevertheless, he got 60 years. Um, and this movie basically chronicles his wife's effort to live while, to keep her life going while he's in prison, and also her attempts to get him out. And
Okay.
I think it takes place over a period of 15, 20 years. And eventually he gets out, right?
Okay.
But
Hmm.
it's like, oh man, struggle love. She's like riding, dying for her man. You
Yes.
know, anything for my man. And I go like, oh, geez, whoa. Oh.
That sounds like an interesting narrative, though. More.
Yeah, but there are also some other things too, like when they pull off the robbery,
Hmm.
when he first got put in prison, they have a child, and during the course of the movie, she has several more children, and I'm like, well, who, where the other children come from? Did he have conjugal visits, or these were other men? I don't understand. It's not explained
Right.
in the
Right.
picture, you know. So you're like, well, how much she writing and really dying for a man? I don't know, So
So
I'll give you
Sylvie's
another
Love
example.
is a contrast to that.
I'll give another example. Okay, a feature film.
Right.
Okay, Ava DuVernay's
Middle of
Middle of
nowhere.
Nowhere. Middle of Nowhere is like a perfect struggle love movie, right?
Okay.
What's it about? It's about this woman, this couple, right? She's studying to become a doctor.
Hmm.
Her numbskull husband gets arrested by the feds for selling guns. So the entire movie is her just whining and pining for her husband. And I go like, wow, maybe I'm a guy, we don't understand that. And I go like, really for this guy? And she just walks the streets of course, she doesn't become a doctor. She has to wind up becoming a nurse. And, all the legal machinations that go on trying to get a lawyer to defend her husband. And then the upshot is that you find out in a trial that he was sleeping with one of the prison guards, with the female prison guards, and she's all shocked. And I go like, oh, oh, oh,
Big
oh.
letdown.
Right. And I go like, really? And people, isn't that a wonderful movie? And it was a struggle love film. Oh, okay. I'll give you another one. More recent, Queen and Slim.
I didn't see that movie.
Oh, right. Okay. Let me explain. Okay. Let me explain the premise behind this one. Okay. So these two people meet on a blind date. Like she went on Tinder. Okay. Now she is, sorry about this. I'm going to have to ignore that. I'll call him back later. Okay, so she's a lawyer. Okay, she's a defense attorney. And the guy, he's a good brother. He works at Costco, I think, or something like that, a manager at Costco.
Mm-hmm.
So they wind up getting into a situation where they're stopped by the police, to get harassed by the police, and down in Kulula shoots the cop in the fence, and they go on the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Like a
like,
Bonnie and Clyde.
yeah, but she's a lawyer. You mean she gave up all the years she went to law school, all the struggle she had to get her law degree, pass the bar, establish her practice, to go on a run with a guy she met that night? I'm like, this doesn't make like sense. And of course they go on a run. And I'm sorry to spoil you to a spoiler, folks, but at the end they get shot to death by the police.
What do Lorraine
All right.
Hansberry? What do Lorraine Hansberry say? She's like, you have realism and you have naturalism in film. Naturalism is basically taking a photograph of the garbage can because that's what it is. It's natural. Realism is including in a film or narrative, play or film, the possibility of a thing, what you would like to see happen, what you would hope that would happen. That's
Exactly.
as storytellers, as narrative, creators, we get to create a reality that maybe currently doesn't exist that we would like to exist or that could exist in the future. So my thing is like, why the fuck tell narratives of something that we can just watch on YouTube? I'm just
Right. And don't forget, in Queen and Slim, they get killed just before they get on a plane that's going to fly them out of the country. And I thought, wow. you know, people say, wasn't that a good? Well, actually, a lot of people didn't like the movie. There were some people who liked the film, but I thought the film was dreadful. I thought the film was dreadful.
I had no
Because the
desire.
logic of the situation doesn't make sense, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That a lawyer would give everything for. Now, it would have been better if maybe he gets arrested and then she defends him.
A possibility of a thing.
But yeah, but she goes on. She gives up everything. Now, let me reverse it this way. Can you imagine a guy doing that for a woman?
No.
See, you see. So it's okay for a woman to do that.
Right.
To give up her whole career and her whole life ahead for a guy. And this was, like I said before, this is not. She had a relationship with this guy for a while. You can kind of half buy that,
She's emotionally invested.
But she met the guy that night, and on top of that, it was a bad date. It was a bad date. I mean, they didn't like each other.
Yeah. So
like,
yeah. But yeah, let's so with Sylvie's Love, you're saying Sylvie's Love is it's not struggle love, because it's not they struggle to maintain their relationship because of really careers. One doesn't want to put the rearing of the child before the other person's career, which I think is I don't find it noble. I'll say that.
Well, remember the period that the film takes place in,
which was uncommon.
Right. I mean,
to put your career before your own child.
Right. To explain, we haven't really explained the premise of the film. It's about two people. It's Tessa Thompson, who's Sylvie, and she is a daughter of a jazz musician who owns a record store. It all takes place in New York City. And the actor is this. He's a jazz saxophonist, right?
Yes.
And they meet cute, as they say, and had this relationship. And then when he gets this big break, that the band is going to do this big European tour, she tells him, that she's pregnant, right? And of
She
course,
doesn't tell him.
oh, that's right. She doesn't tell him. Right. You're right. You're right. I'm sorry. You're perfectly right. She doesn't tell him. Right. Um, he goes over his career. He come back later, and a couple years later, and I should say this movie takes place in the years say 1957 to 1963. It starts off in 1963 when they happen to meet after several years they haven't been in touch with each other by
Yes.
coincidence
Mm-hmm.
at a concert. She's about to go see a Nancy Wilson concert,
Mm-hmm.
and so we flash back to that when they
They
first met and
first
everything.
encounter, yeah.
Right, first encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come back to that point about halfway through the movie, and then it continues on from there. All
Yes.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but right, you got to remember back at that time, if a woman had out of wedlock child, that was scandal. Back in the day, you would be sent out of the city
You should be
or
sent down
wherever.
south. Down
Right,
south.
wherever region you're from. I mean, wherever region you had relatives, you'll be sent out, because it was a shame. It was an embarrassment. I know it's hard to believe today, but that was the deal back then.
Yeah.
I do remember that there were people remember the movie actress Ingrid Bergman. Well, Ingrid Bergman caused a huge scandal in the late 40s when she made a film in Italy. She wound up having an affair with the director of the film, Roberto Rossellini, and she had a child out of wedlock. And her career was over for several years. I mean, she did some European films with her. She virtually married Rossellini, and he had a couple of children, including Isabella Rossellini, okay, the actress. Um, but her career was over. As a matter of fact, she was denounced by the Senate, U.S. Senate. She was considered a pariah. And it wasn't until the mid 50s was she able to come back and do movies in Hollywood. Now, today, that's nothing, But at that time, yeah, that was a big deal, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah, you have.
yeah, and I think it was like, okay, so what are your
But
thoughts
here's the other
about?
thing too. Here's the other thing too.
Yeah.
It was even a bigger deal if you were a black woman. Because if you're a black woman, the idea was that you're a loose, immoral woman, and you want the image was that black women were loose and immoral. So having a child out of wedlock was even worse for a black woman because people would say, "You see, you're proving them right."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The whole idea of what they thought carried a lot of weight in the black community, unfortunately.
Well, let's get into that.
Because I think caring about what we think should be more important than what some other community thinks of us as a community. But that's just my opinion.
Well. Let's get into that because, like on the surface, it's a nice film, but as I said, I was talking to some friends of mine day before yesterday. One friend of mine lives in London, but she's American. She's been living in London now for over 20 years, right?
Okay.
And I was talking to another friend here who lives like in Pennsylvania, okay? And we're all about the same age, and they both loved it to death. They're just like, one friend, she went like this. They loved it to death, right? Because that film reflects mine and our parents' experience, right? Just the post, or really during the time of the civil rights movement, I should say the modern civil rights movement, because there's always been a civil rights movement.
Exactly.
But at that time in the 1950s, the idea was integration. And one of the things was that, are you ready? Okay, we're about to reach the point where we're not going to be working for the white man. We're going to be working with the white man. So are you ready? So in the film, for example, Sylvie's mother has a charm school.
Yeah.
Now, younger people will that go right over their head, or they will laugh at it.
Do they even still exist? Charm schools for black people?
I don't anymore. But that was a big deal back then. We have to train our young women to how to behave in white society.
Carry themselves
Because
and
you don't want them to call, you don't want them to, don't act like them. Don't act like those people because, they're looking at you. You better know how to sit. You better know what fork to use when you're at a dinner. You better don't laugh too loud. Don't act colored.
assimilate.
Right. Was expression back then. Remember to act your age and not your color. That was it. That was the word back. I mean, that was a real expression people would say back then. So, um,
And be a credit to
so
your race because we need credit.
yeah, right. You know, don't do that. So Sidney Poitier was huge. This was the time when Sidney Poitier was just about to become a big movie star. And the thing about Sidney Poitier is, Donald Bowles says in his book, Bucks, Tons, Mulatto, Mammies, and Coons, Sidney Poitier was like the perfect integrationist model. He was polite. He was well-spoken. He didn't get angry unless in rare circumstances, like in the
He
heat of the night.
became well spoken.
Right. In the heat of the night. You don't, Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, they came later during the militant age. Right. But Sidney Poitier was like, we want to show us at our best. It's like, watch his first movie.
But Sergio, let me just chime in. I read this out of his memoir, and Sidney Poitier was primarily illiterate when he came to this country.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't well spoken, and he was a terrible actor. This is according to Sidney Poitier. So he was once he joined Negro Ensemble or auditioned for them, he was surrounded by very proficient American Black actors. And he was trained and was learning from American Black actors and directors, Lloyd Richards and things like, and other Negro Ensemble. So even though he was pushed to the forefront, was offered many opportunities, he got his training ground around American Black actors. I'm just saying, the Negro Ensemble Company and New Federal Theater and such. So
well,
he wasn't a first, articulate Black person to be offered an opportunity in film.
No, but why was it? He got it. It was him. I mean, they couldn't gotten Ozzie Davis. They could have gotten, Canada Lee,
Ron O'Neill.
Ron O'Neill. Well, no, there were two actors named Ron O'Neill. Black actors named Ron O'Neill.
Well, the one
not
from
the guy Superfly. Right, but there was another actor named O'Neill.
Okay.
Which I forgot his first name now.
Mm-hmm.
There was Canada Lee couldn't do it. Canada Lee maybe could have been, but A, he died too young, and number two, he got in trouble politically when he was blacklisted, and that's a whole other thing. We're doing the blacklist during the House on American Activities, the whole Red Scare, and he was blacklisted, and he couldn't get work, and he died shortly after that. I mean, he died very young. His son became an actor, Carl Lee, who's in Superfly, and other films. But the thing about Poitier was that if you look at his first movie, No Way Out, where he plays a young doctor who, and I just saw that film a few months ago again recently. He plays a young doctor at a hospital who he's on night duty, emergency night duty. And the police bring in two brothers who have been arrested pulling off a robbery. And one of them was badly shot. And Poitier tries to save the guy, and the guy dies. He's too far gone. And the brother, played by Richard Widmark, is this virulent racist. And the stuff he just spews on Poitier is just unimaginable. But Poitier takes it, He's got to take it, right? Now, you would say to yourself, I'm not going to take that. I'll beat that guy way to death, right? But at the time, people looked at Poitier and said they admired his restraint, his character's restraint,
We know what that's code for.
Code for what?
That's code for we like the passive Negro.
Well, but you see, but at the time, here, okay, at the time, Poitier was for many black people the shining example. You know, he was the shining example, right?
Of
See
who
how
black
we
people
can be
are?
what?
Of who black people already are?
Yeah, see how it can be? We can be just like him. Please let us into your society because we can be just like Poitier. We'll take it. We'll take everything you'll give us, but just let us in, right? It's like Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson took a lot of abuse. He took a lot of abuse when he, when the Brooklyn Dodgers signed him up, and he became the first black ball player in the major leagues. Um, there were other, of course, they had a whole wealth
Of
of
course.
black players
The
to
Negro
pick,
League.
right? But they got Robinson because Robinson had the temperament. Now, eventually, it killed him because he also died very young. He was in his 50s when he was in the early 50s when he died. He looked like he was in his 70s. It took a toll on him, but he had the temperament because there were many other black players they could have picked, but he didn't have the temperament because they would have been the kind of player if somebody said something to him in the field, they would have cracked a bat over their head.
But interestingly though,
You
about
know,
the whole they liked that the Sidney Poitier embodied the written character who was passive and exercise restraint. That same Sidney Poitier would not do in the heat of the night if he was not allowed to slap the white man back. That same Sidney Poitier, and that slap was not written in the script.
right? But here's the other thing too. Um, City Pointy definitely. If this movie was made in 1950, Pointy would have definitely played the lead. Number two, or maybe Harry
Easy,
Belafonte. Number
easy,
two, number two,
easy. Number two.
one of the big inspirations for this movie was Paris Blues. Have you seen Paris Blues?
I have seen it.
Yeah, that's one of the big, which is the what about two jazz musicians in Paris who fall
In
in love,
Paris
Paul Newman and Sidney Poitier.
and Diane
Uh,
Carroll.
with women, I don't think they fall in love with each other, but two women.
Right. That's where they started the affair. And
Right.
and and they also have one. They had electric chemistry, whereas in this movie, Sylvie's Love, I don't feel like they had electricity of the kind of their to me their chemistry was not electric to me. It didn't
Well,
feel electric to
okay,
me.
you can make the argument you can make the argument the actor's a little bland. Okay. This is the first time I've seen him acting in everything. Now evidently
Me too.
he was on Broadway. He was in
He was in a Soldier's
that
Play on Broadway.
yeah, he did Soldier Play on Broadway.
He did Denzel
He's done
Washington's
some
role.
he's done some other TV stuff before. And also producing. This is the first time I've ever seen the first time I've seen him in anything.
As a
I thought it
lead.
was okay.
As a lead.
I don't think it was embarrassing.
I
You
mean,
know, I've never been the greatest Tessa Thompson fan, but I really like her in this
me too.
because
I like her in this as well.
she's, as I said before, I
I
think
like
too
her.
many times she comes up like she thinks she's the shit. And this is more natural in her.
Yes. Yes.
She's more subdued. Like look at me. Okay, fine, okay, all right, okay. It's not like that.
She's
Okay, in this
very
film,
warm, very
right,
warm.
right. Um, um, but going back to Paris Blues also doesn't have the most compelling story. Okay, let me
True.
rephrase that back. You could say that the Poitier Dan Carroll story is more interesting than
Electric.
Paul Newman. And is that the story? Is that or is that the actors?
It's the actors, but they took that dialogue and then they're okay. So the actors are bringing to the screen what is not on the page, and they
Yeah.
brought electricity of chemistry to those characters, and that's all I'll say.
Yeah. Well, there are no more Sidney Poitiers anymore. There are no more Diane Carrolls anymore. You know, there aren't. If you if come to think of it, this may go slightly off point, but I think it's kind of interesting. There is a movie with Anthony Perkins and Ingrid Bergman. There's a coincidence. I mentioned her. Ingrid Bergman called Goodbye Again. All right. It was made around the same time as Paris Blues. It's
Okay.
shot in Paris,
Okay.
same studio, United Artists, and it's about an older woman who has an affair with a younger man. Now, okay, she's 40 years old, but back at that time in 62,
That's like being 60, right?
oh, it was like being 80. Okay. But there is this one scene in the movie where Perkins is in a bar, you know, in a nightclub bar, and he's, confused. He doesn't know where this affair is going with Ingrid Bergman, and it's a cameo role by Diane Carroll. She must have shot this scene while she was making Paris Blues. And it's just this scene when Diane Carroll notices him and he had this conversation and she tells him how love is pain, And it's a wonderful little sequence. It only lasts maybe 6, 7 minutes. And it's just this wonderful little cameo that she does. And she's electric. I mean, as soon as she walks on the screen, I mean, she takes control of the movie. You can't take your eyes off her.
She's magnetic.
She is. She's absolutely magnetic. I wish she had done more movies. I
Me
wish she had done a lot more
too.
movies. You know.
And you know what, too? I've heard people talk about Sylvie's Love and like, it's a transporting us back to that era, like our mothers and fathers era when they were in their 20s and late teens and such.
Yeah.
And I love period pieces. I mean, I love Adam, A Man Called Adam with Sammy Davis and Sammy
By
Davis.
the way, can I do a plug?
Yes,
The
please.
Blu-ray of A Man Called Adam is coming out in February with my commentary on
Really?
Tina Lover. Yeah.
I love that movie, and I love Tina and Lester Pine, the screenwriters also of Claudine. So
Right.
bravo to them.
And also that film is very, very daring for its time
Yes.
because
And Cicely Tyson is in it also.
Sammy Davis Jr. plays a guy who is very troubled.
A saxophone, a trumpeter, right? A saxophone
Yeah,
player?
he's a trumpeter. He's
Trumpeter.
very troubled.
Very
He's
troubled.
he's not likable in a lot of things. He's
At the
very
start.
self-destructive.
Yes.
Very self-destructive.
But
And
he's warm with her.
it was really hard. I mean, that was really amazing for a black actor to play a character like that at that time
Um,
because we had to be perfect. We had to be perfect.
with no Sidney Poitier.
Right. And here's Sammy Davis Jr. playing a guy
He was
who
incredible.
is self-destructive and abuses people, uses them.
He was
This
loving
one
to Cicely Tyson, though.
say
Once
what?
he was loving and warm to Cicely Tyson once he thawed out, emotionally thawed out.
Yeah, but then there's a scene later in the movie where he's crawling on his hands and knees, begging this white guy for a job,
Y'all,
and that's
go see
painful
this.
to do.
Get the DVD, the Blu-ray DVD, or download it or stream it. It is a wonderful film. It's a wonderful.
No, you want to buy the copy. I do my
But
commentary.
because you get a chance to hear his commentary on this wonderful film, and the performances are wonderful. The chemistry between Sammy Davis Jr. and Cicely Tyson is electric, and that's what I look for in the chemistry between a couple. A love story. I want it to be electric, or at least hot. Give me, but I just feel like to me, in Sylvie's Love, I was so like elated to see it. I saw the interviews and such with the director, writer, and the two leads, and I was like, oh, a love story set in this period. I was thinking like,
Which is see that. Then I've been looking for interviews with the director. I want to read more
on
about it.
YouTube. On YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay. Now let me bring up something. And as I said before, in terms of Ma Rainey. Okay, but also in terms of this,
off a little bit.
the lead actor is
Viola Davis.
He's Nigerian. Okay, his parents are Nigerian.
Oh yes, in Sylvie's Love. Yes.
Now and I agree with this. I really agree with this. Someone said one of the reasons why the acting in Ma Rainey is so good is because you have African American actors in those parts. You don't have a single British Nigerian actor in them, right? Because, and I said that's a valid point, because I feel you got to live it to know it, right? And the reason why the performances are so good is that you have actors who have lived it. They have lived that,
Their
being a
parents,
Black artist and
grandparents.
the trouble and the struggle it is to be a Black artist, right? In America,
America,
right?
in North
A
America.
British Nigerian actor, technically maybe okay, but they haven't lived it. Now, my friend in London saw Ma Rainey twice on stage. She saw it in New York and she saw it in London when there was a production at the National Theater.
Okay.
She said the New York performance, of course, was unbelievable, right? The British performance, she said they didn't quite get it. Right, because they haven't lived it. They haven't lived it. Now, you can make the argument that maybe one of the reasons why the actor in Sylvie's Love maybe fall short is because, well, he he hasn't lived it. He doesn't have parents who had went through that experience. He doesn't know.
I think it's a number of reasons. I think it's one, according to IMDb, he's only been acting since 2011, 9 years ago. And not even just that, I think sometimes one needs more time to really hone their acting craft and become comfortable in their own instrument, their emotional, their psychological, and their physical instrument, to really embody a character fully. And I think, like, you just sometimes you just need more time to embody wholly a particular character. And maybe even though a great number of people in my circle love the movie, now nobody's saying specifically in my circle that they loved his performance, but people are saying they love the movie in totality. So nobody is making that nobody is distinguishing that. Whereas because I'm an actor, I'm going to distinguish, you know, the writing, the acting, blah blah blah. So I mean, a number of people felt like he was an ordinary cat, and so even you said, he's an ordinary cat, so you can relate to the fact that he's an ordinary cat. But you
Yeah.
can be, but he doesn't. He's not like this fancy. But I always brought a point. Rupert Marshall and Claudine was a garbage man, but he was fucking incredible as an actor, and what he delivered was, and he made a characterization that was explosive and memorable and impactful. So it's not what the character does for a living; it's the interpretation they bring to the role.
But first of all, yeah, James Earl Jones is bigger than life anyway. You know. Number two
And he's a
is
skilled
that
actor.
what was it? Yeah, but also he's a powerhouse. He commands the screen. Okay.
But if you don't have the skill set, I don't care how much credit.
And he has that voice. Who else
Yes.
has a voice like that?
Yes.
Maybe the intention of the director, Eugene Ash, was to find somebody who wasn't overpowering. That's something to ask. I don't know. Maybe how many other actors, for example, auditioned for the role? Or was he the only one they ever approached?
But he was the producer on the film, though, so he
Oh, that's right. So basically, yeah, it's mine. Everybody get lost. Okay, well, there you go. If you control the material, then you can pretty much call the shots.
I have a fellow actress, filmmaker. She loved his vulnerability. She loved his sense of ease. So again, there are a number of people who were moved by his performance. I had to break it down like this: like, if you and I go to an art gallery together, there's going to be paintings that move me in my soul, and paintings that don't. And I think it's sometimes, now I still think that you just, as an actor, you just need more time to really hone your craft to be a lead in a film. It could be that too, or it could just be like, again, some people, like my friend, she's a really good actress, and she was moved by she called it vulnerability. And, I just felt like he was a butter knife. He was as dull as a butter knife. I'm saying not even the person, but his performance to me was as dull as a butter knife. Just the performance, not the person. Just want to be clear.
Well, once again, it's like you an actor. You as an actor, he works for the director. I'm sure they worked out the approach. Maybe for you, it was the wrong approach, but
Didn't feel it to me.
there you go. You know,
Well, how does this performance impact you and her performing?
I thought he was fine. I went along with it. I thought he was fine.
Okay,
You
see,
know, I really did. I thought he was just fine.
any
You know,
standout performances for you?
um, I no, you know what? I would say actually Tessa Thomas a stand-up performance, but
I
that because she was given in a way more to do. Well, it's the movie anyway. It's Sylvie's love. It's not Sylvie and the other guy. It's Sylvie's love.
she has a
So the
more
focus of the movie is on her. She's given a
intertwined.
lot more things to do in the movie. So
Mhm.
she's going to stand out more. The guy basically all his job is basically to react to everything that's going on to him.
But there's many colors to reacting, and it.
Right. Well, some can do it better than others.
Yes.
But
What about
um
the other performers, the other actors in the film?
well, there wasn't anybody else who really particularly stood out. I mean, who had any kind of really big significant role. The actress who played the cousin had some nice moments. I
I
wish it was more of
agree.
her.
I
Yeah,
agree.
but if you gave her more things to do, then you're skewing the tone of the movie. It's supposed to be on this couple. Um,
I thought the
and
husband was wonderful.
yeah, but I mean, they.
And he was only on screen for like two times, but I was
I know. I
impacted
mean,
by
I
his.
said he kind of got rid of him fast after a while. He had 2 things and he got rid of him, right? Right, because the movie's right. Once again, if you concentrate too much on the husband, then the movie loses its focus. You concentrate too much on the cousin, the movie loses its focus. It's the couple. It's the couple. Um, Now I heard that actually, when this film premiered at Sundance almost a year ago, it was slightly longer. So
Oh,
I don't know what scenes were cut. Maybe there were more scenes with the cousin. Maybe it could have been more scenes with the husband. I don't know. But
oh,
from what I understand, it was not that much longer, maybe 5, 6 minutes longer.
okay,
You know, that's what I heard.
okay.
And in between that time, he went back and did some re-editing, or I mean, cut, trim it down. It's still a long picture though, but I never found it dragging or dull in any way.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I really enjoyed Tessa's quiet but impactful, warm performance. It was
Yeah,
really
it's first of all, let's explain to folks. This is a good film. I mean, I maybe like it more than you did, but this is a really good film you should check out. And one of the reasons why you should check it out is because um,
look it out for yourself.
I'm afraid it may get swamped by all the attention that Ma Rainey is getting. And then when One Night in Miami comes out next month, oh boy, people are going to jump over that. So here's this other picture coming out. And then now I saw the One Night in Miami is also on Amazon. And then also on Amazon, I just saw the teaser trailer for the Underground Railroad, Barry Jenkins' new series. And that's going to be something. There's no date yet. I said, gee, Amazon's getting all this really interesting black film. You don't know what Underground Railroad is. It's based on the Colin Whitehead book. And the premise, it's like historical fantasy. The premise is, what if the Underground Railroad really was underground? You know, what if there was a whole train service that actually ran underneath the earth?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 9-part TV series that Barry Jenkins has written, and he's directing all the episodes. And a teaser trailer came out for it, I think, yesterday, and I've seen it. And I said, oh boy, it's just one shot. And I'm like, oh boy, this could be something special. This could be really, really special.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I I would definitely say experience Sylvie's love for your own, for yourself. because you may walk away from this art gallery loving, wanting to take this painting home. Like Sergio wants to take this Sylvie's Love painting home. I'd rather
Yeah.
leave it at the art gallery, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw it because there's a lot of components about Sylvie's Love that I really liked. Not a lot,
And
but
also
there.
the other thing too I like about it is that it's not hip or cool. Most Black love stories try to be hip and cool, and like
What's an example
I
of that? 'Cause
know,
Love Jones is hella cool and hip.
you know. See, Love Jones is one of those movies, and I know we showed it at Black Harvest. We did like a 20th anniversary screening of it with the
I love it.
director. But I know I just didn't like it because I used to hang out with those people around then or those places, and I found them the most obnoxious, pretentious people. I just like,
You went
oh,
to
I don't see
Spices?
what.
Did you go to Spices?
Yeah, a couple of times I went
Oh
there,
my
and I
God,
said,
I used to go to Spices too.
yeah, but I thought it was the most obnoxious, most pretentious people on the planet. And I go like, I don't want to see a movie about them. Um, and then,
Now it's a classic.
yeah, I know people think it's a class. I know people love it, but I just, you know. And then what's Brown Sugar? Was it Brown Sugar?
Brown Sugar with
Brown
Sanaa
Sugar.
Lathan.
Yeah. What are your first love in hip hop? What do you don't like hip hop? What do you don't know anything about it? See, I'm stuck. Right there at the beginning of the movie is the premise that I can't get into because it's like it's like what's the Chris Rock movie? Top Five. Remember Top Five?
Yes,
And then
yes.
he has to what's your top five favorite raps? I can't name one. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm lost here. I'm sorry. I'm not. I guess I'm not hip enough for you. I'm not black enough for you. I don't know what it is. I can't help you. I don't know. I mean, that's why I like this movie because it doesn't presupposes that you're on the cutting edge of everything and you know all this stuff. I don't. Maybe that's why it's said in the past why I liked it. I know that stuff in the past. Okay, I know that. Okay,
Beautiful music.
so yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
Great.
Uh, I don't know maybe if there were changes made from its which is not uncommon
Mhm,
from its Sundance premiere to today to the release on Amazon.
mhm,
That's not unusual because a lot of times if you're using recorded music,
mhm.
you can use recorded music in festivals, but sometimes when you try to negotiate the rights, you can't get them, so you have to replace them with something else.
Mhm.
So maybe that went on, but it's a great soundtrack, right?
What did you think about
Um,
the
but yeah, please check
screenplay?
it out, folks. Yeah, you really will like it. I swear to God, you'll like it a lot.
Sergio, did you like the screenplay? How it unfolded?
Yeah, I do. Like I said, but it's not. It's predictable. You know where's it going. Which is I liked. I thought it was fine. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
I like the fact it was unpredictable. I'm sorry. I like the fact it was predictable. I like the fact that you know where this thing was going.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know,
okay with that too.
uh, there's sort of like a safety in it. You're not going to get any like the only big question is that what happens at the end. Okay, that's
Oh,
really comes down to.
yeah.
Are they going to stay apart
It's
or are they
open
finally going
ended.
to get together? Right.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
only thing that really matters at the end.
Yeah.
And even then, in the back of your mind, you could say, well, you don't know, in 10 years, let's come back. You know, who knows?
No, but I'm going to say congratulations to Eugene Ash, the writer director. This is a story he wanted to tell and the way he wanted to tell it, and is resonating with a lot of Black people. And that's a wonderful thing as a storyteller, that many people are moved by your story and the way you told it. So I think, shout out to him for executing it in such a way.
And also keep in mind, folks, he's 55 years old. He's in his mid 50s. This is only his second movie. So there's hope for everybody. It's never over. It's never
No,
over.
always growing
Right.
and learning as an artist, always. So I definitely learned a
I'm
lot.
anxious to see what he's going to do next.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what, first of all, I connected with him in this interview when he said, this is really what made me want to watch his movie. Because the interviewer said, what's your favorite film? Your favorite top films. And the dude said, what did he say? He said Claudine. I was like, oh, well, then I'm going to watch his movie because that's my favorite
Yeah.
film. And if you like Claudine, if that's your favorite, then I know your movie is going to be fucking popping.
And
And
also something, I saw an interview with the lead actor, and he said something which is also interesting too. He said, usually when you see a black film
yeah.
that's a period movie,
Uh-huh.
it's almost always about slavery or the civil rights struggle. And they always seem to get that black people were also living their lives. They were falling in love. They were having families. They were doing all these other things that period black films don't deal with. And that's one of the, he said that's one of the things that attracted him to the script was that it's a period movie, but it's dealing with normal issues that black people, like white people, dealt with back then. But when it comes to black films, you rarely see it.
So name me one period black film that did not have a love story component. Name me one.
They did not have a black love
Did not
story.
have a love story component. Name me one. I
Did
think
not?
they
Okay, 12 Years a Slave.
done.
You
Done.
know?
And that was also,
You know?
I'll leave that alone.
And okay, you want the one that did?
What? Which one?
Well, if you look at it, it is a love story there was a love story because okay, Django Unchained. There's a love story in
It had
there.
a love story component.
Right. And what happens at the end? He rides off in the sunset with his woman, right?
Yeah.
And I said, boy, it had to take a white guy to come up with something like that. Jesus Christ.
Wait. And Roots had love stories in it.
Yeah,
Earth
but
of
you
a
gotta go back.
Nation.
You gotta go back to 1979.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying. I think that is a lie. I think that is a lie. I think.
No, but it's rare. It's rare. It's rare. You know,
I don't
it's
think
rare.
it is.
Okay, I'll have to go back and think. Usually it's like it's
I mean, clearly not Glory because it's nothing but a bunch of men sitting around. But outside
right.
of Glory, like, if we think of period,
But I mean, no. But what he means is that just a love story.
oh, just a love story.
Yeah, that's what he meant. Just a love story. That's what he meant.
Let's see, For Love of Ivy, A Warm December.
No. He's talking about period. He said when you do a period black film.
So period, that's subjective, right? So right now, the 90s is considered a period piece, ain't it?
Well, no. He's talking about okay. I can't say For the Love of Ivy. Love of Ivy was a very contemporary movie when it came out.
Oh, okay.
It may be period for you, but it's contemporary to me. But he's talking about in the 19th century or the early 20th century or the mid 20th century. Black films that are set in that period don't have a love stories, or they don't even do love stories. They're all about slavery or they're about the civil rights struggle first and foremost.
Okay, I'm gonna do my research.
Yeah, think about it. There hardly any. Is that? They're always about struggle.
Because that's a big part of our experience here. But also, okay, so I'm going to do my research.
But that's not the only thing that defines.
No. I understand that. I understand it. But I'm saying so he's saying we haven't produced any film set in the 19th century that is just a love story.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because
or in the 20th century, early to mid 20th century. No, there hasn't been.
Well, there's some Oscar Micheaux love stories. But I'm sure he didn't do his cinematic homework, so.
Well, oh, I love you. I love you so much, my dear. Yeah.
Are we talking about? We're talking about cinema because you got to start somewhere, right?
Right. Well, yeah. Yes, he does have. But you see, but okay. Once again, those movies were contemporary for their time. Okay. He's talking about a movie that is set in the past. Okay, a movie that's made today, or maybe within the last 10 years, or say even 20 years, that's set in the past. He's not talking about movies that were made back then that were contemporary for their time.
Okay.
You know, yeah, Michelle had love stories in his films, but those were contemporary movies in the 1930s. That was like the latest movie right then. It wasn't dated. It wasn't dated. You know, we
But
can
then,
look at it now and look at it now, but that was a movie that was made back then. He's talking
true.
about films that are made today
So okay,
or recently.
so it's not like, so why is that? We have to ask the question, why? Did they feel it was more important to talk about what was happening to us as a group as opposed to a love story?
Yeah, you know, it's like, you know, we're a vessel. We're not human. You know, it's like
I'm gonna do
this
my
this
research.
sounds okay. It's like this thing I always have where we're not looked at as being human. We're a symbol. We're a vessel for a larger issue. But we have feelings and we do things just like everybody else. It's like, you know, a commercial I really hate. You've probably seen these commercials. I mean, I really hate this commercial. You seen these commercials where this black guy is like half guy, half motorcycle?
No,
You ever seen it? I see them all over the time. It's for Geico.
no.
Oh, really? You haven't seen them? They've done like at least 4 or 5 of these commercials.
Are
It's a,
they do they have, are they online? Because I don't watch TV.
well,
I
yeah,
only watch
maybe you can
film.
find it online.
Okay.
Okay, but it's a guy. It's up half his body is a guy, and the lower half of his body is a motorcycle. It's a commercial for motorcycle insurance.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
and there are a couple of them. It's for Geico. I'm sure you can find them online. But it's
Yes.
this black guy. And I go, why did they have to make this black guy like he's half man, half something else?
That's
You can't
ridiculous.
have a black guy riding a motorcycle. You got to have a black guy who's half human, half machine. So black men are not human, or they're not fully human. That's the way I read it.
Okay. So I'm going to do my research on period films centered around Black life that's a love story.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been made recently. Say I will give you say last 20 years.
So
Last 20 years.
2000. Okay. Okay. I'm
Not
gonna.
a film that was made in, not a black love movie that was made in 19, okay, not like Paris Blues, who came in 1963.
Oh,
That
that was
was a very
contemporary.
contemporary movie.
Right. Right.
Okay?
No, I'm clear
Not
now.
for Love of Ivy. That was a
Yep.
very contemporary movie when it
Yep.
came out.
Yep.
I'm talking about a movie like I would like to see a movie today
Mm-hmm.
that was made in that takes place in 1968. There's
Okay.
a love story.
Got it.
I don't want to see one.
Totally
Okay,
respect what you're
what's the
saying.
period movie coming out? We got Judas and the Black. What's that movie about Fred
Fred
Hampton?
Hampton
Yeah, I
with
go
Daniel
like,
Kaluuya.
yeah, I'm like,
I'm not watching that movie.
yeah. You see, it's like, okay. See, here's a perfect example. Okay, here's a perfect example. Okay, Daniel Kaluuya looks nothing like Fred Hampton. Looks nothing like Fred Hampton. Number two, okay, he's Black British, Nigerian. Okay, what do you know about Fred Hampton? Now you can make the argument that an actor his age who is African American also knows very little about Fred Hampton. Okay. But a black British Nigerian actor really knows nothing about Fred
You
Hampton.
can pick up a book
He's
and
going to
read
have to
about him
do,
like anybody else.
yeah, I mean, he can do the research, he can look at the videos, you know, but he's not going to get it. It's just like the reverse, right? The Steve McQueen series, Small Acts, which is really great, right? Which deals with important issues that happen in Black British cultural and political life um, from the late 70s until like the mid 80s. Okay.
Mhm.
It would have been wrong to have an African American actor in any of those films. You know, I know nothing, I never heard of the Mangrove Nine until I saw Mangrove. I know nothing about the British school system until I saw An Education. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, how that works, right? And granted, there are stuff in education that really is relevant to the education system here, but still, in the other films as well, you know, the African Americans, we don't know. We don't know. So it would have been wrong for them to have, if they had African Americans playing those roles. We don't know that. We know really very little about Black British history. Okay. But but it would have been just as wrong to have Black British actors in Ma Rainey. That's the way I feel. It would have been wrong to have Black British actors in that Fred Hampton movie. I'm sorry.
I
Fred Hampton is still considered a hero in Chicago. You
He's a
know that,
fucking hero.
right? What does Daniel Kaluuya know about that?
First of all, it's like Fred Hampton was 21. How old is Daniel Kaluuya? Because
I think he's in his early 30s. I think.
Okay, he don't look 21. Fred Hampton was 21 when he was murdered. I mean, I don't. I'm not going to see it. I mean, it's quarantine, so I'm not going to stream it, I guess. You know, when I saw Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I was so happy. I experienced the film and I was very happy with what I experienced. And then it didn't dawn on me until after I watched it a couple of days later. I'm like, oh, this is an all-American Black cast. There's an idea. I mean, these are all fictionalized. I mean, it was just nice to see an all-American Black cast for a change, because you would think like we don't exist.
And you know what? It didn't dawn on me until someone mentioned that. I saw someone post that on Facebook, and he said one of the reasons I just think he's so good is because you have African Americans, and he said British Nigeria would have worked. And I posted that on this Facebook site called Black Filmmakers Group, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, he's right. This guy's right. And I got a lot of bounce back on that. What are you talking about? And he hasn't completed the kind of role. I said, no. You know, technically, you could have had a British actor there, and they may have been okay or fine. What the experience in the movie, American artist would understand. Not someone who was traditional theater doing Shakespeare. You don't
listen.
It's a different thing.
And let me just say this one last time for the record, folks. I keep hearing from a number of people online and in person, you know, these a number of these Black British actors who come across the ocean are better trained. They've done Shakespeare. What the fuck does Shakespeare have to do with an August Wilson character, who are American Black characters? Shakespeare characters are not American Black. So you being trained in doing Shakespeare work, how does that help you play an American Black person born in the US? How? They're not even connected in any way.
Right, it doesn't.
They're not connected.
It doesn't.
How does that help you in any way, play an American Black person?
Now, I'm not saying that Black British actors can't play African Americans.
I'm not saying that either.
For a long time. Okay, Idris Elba. You know, people forget Delroy Lindo is British.
He's great.
You know, Delroy Lindo's British, even though he came here when he was a teenager.
Okay. Via Canada, Jamaican Canada, Canadian.
Yeah, he came here when he was a teenager. Okay, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Okay, Daniel Kaluuya. There are some really fine.
You're not saying they're not good actors.
Right. They're all fine actors, and they can play all kinds of roles, right? Yeah. You know, I mean, Delroy Lindo was amazing in The Five Bloods. He was unbelievable in this, right? You know, that's a fictional character. Okay.
It's a fictional character.
But if you're gonna play a real African of someone of the past who was African American, or someone who is very much a character who is very much rooted in the African American experience, you better get an African American actor, you know, because and
there's a lot of us out here,
right? Because I'm sorry, Black British actors, people, don't know about the legacy of American slavery. Yes, you can claim, well, we're descendants of British slaves in Jamaica, or you know, Haiti, or what. And if you're Nigerian, forget it. If you're Nigerian, you have no history, no history at all of what African Americans have been through. I'm sorry, you don't have it. Okay, so um, sometimes you need an African American actor because they get it. If you have lived it, if you know the stories, you experienced it, you can do it. Okay.
You know, I remember
And
I was
when they gave that part to, I'm sorry, I have to say this. The movie Harriet.
oh, Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, and someone who has mocked African Americans on her Twitter page and made fun of us, and then she's going to turn around and play Harriet Tubman. You got a hell lot of nerve, lady. Sorry, you got a hell lot of nerve.
No, and
I mean, I read some of the things she said, about African Americans.
oh,
Don't come with that superior. Don't come with that superior shit on us. I'm
oh,
sorry.
listen. Don't get me started because I'm gonna hit you with the knowledge. I'm gonna hit you real hard. But I'm gonna fall back tonight, and I'm not gonna come at it because I can come at you, mama. I can come at you, but I'm gonna fall back. So I was this playwright here in New York cast me in a play she had written about the Rwanda Civil War, and it was a woman who had been raped by a warring tribe, and she became pregnant as a result, and she ended up killing her son because she was mentally imbalanced and took out her frustration and ended up killing him anyway. She's talking to his imaginary son who she killed, and I'm straight American Black, born in Chicago. My mother's from Mississippi. My father's mother's from Memphis. Like, we're straight up American Black all the way through. Now, I did my research and I inhabited the emotional life of the character, but a Rwandan actress would have smoked me. She would have brought way more things to the role because she's Rwandan. So I can give you all the emotion, but she's gonna bring extra stuff that's not just the emotion. She's gonna bring you gestures and phrasing and all those things that they do that's specific to their culture. And that's all we're saying. Like, there's some specificity to our culture, nonverbal and verbal, that is specific to us that we're gonna bring to a role, whether we heard through our grandmother, grandfather, or seen in ourselves. And that is the distinction. So to ignore that is crazy. That's not saying that you can't bring the emotion, but there's more to a character than just emotionality. And so it's like, just respect that. Just respect
the inner life you have to bring out.
Yeah.
There's the inner life you got to bring out. And if you know it, if you experienced it, or not personally experienced it, but you have family who experienced it, you know the stories about it, you've lived it, so you can bring it out, right? So yeah, I can understand that. Just like I said, American actors wouldn't know, they shouldn't, they didn't have any, but there were no African American actors in small acts. There shouldn't be any African Americans in small acts because we don't know that life. I don't know anything about.
I'm not curious.
I have a lot of Black British friends. I don't know, but that's they grew up differently.
And you haven't been, and quite frankly, I haven't been curious enough. I mean, since I moved to New York, I've been more curious about their history and contributions. But prior to moving to New York, I had my interest hadn't been piqued to learn about their contributions and their history. Quite frankly,
and it's a whole different thing. It's a different thing altogether, right?
Well, but Sergio, what about the argument that, well, Denzel plays Stephen Biko in South Africa and he's not South African?
Okay, the thing about that is that, number one, Denzel Washington's a star. He's a movie star. You could have gotten a South African actor, but who cares? I mean, no, name me a South African actor who's like world famous. There isn't one. sometimes commercial considerations come into the fold, right?
Mhm.
Once again, Chadwick Boseman is not what's the name of that country again? Um,
Oh, Wakanda, Wakanda.
Wakanda. Yeah, he's not Wakandan,
Fiction.
right? Okay, fine, all right, but he's a fictional character. Anybody could have played that part, you know. And he already was cast. He was established. He had been in other movies playing Black Panther. So okay, who's going to play the part? Um, the other thing too is that um, as I said before, um, well, okay, let me put it to you this way. Um, I think now we're much more sensitive to that. I
Yes,
think particularly Black people are,
yes.
because at the time when Denzel Washington made Stephen Biko, name me another Black British actor who could have played that part. There weren't any now. Now you have your whole choice of Black British actors who could play that part. Or I should say, or a Black Nigerian,
Mhm.
who played that part. Daniel Kaluuya could have played that part. British Nigerian easily could have played that part. You know, I mean, he's not South African, but he is African. And Chelabor Elafor,
Mhm.
who's also Nigerian, British Nigerian, could have played
They're all
that part. It's
Nigerian.
different now.
They're all Nigerian.
What? They're all
They're
Nigerian.
all Nigerian.
No, there got to be a Kenyan
No,
in
no,
there
no.
somewhere.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No,
I'm
no,
joking.
there's got to be a Kenyan in
Because
there somewhere.
yeah, yeah. Because old girl from 12 Years a Slave, her parents are from Kenya, so she's not West African. She's
Right.
East African.
But you see, but it was different back then. It was different back then. Now it's different. Now, if you were doing that film today, you would not get Michael B. Jordan to play that role. No, that'd be useless. You get another Black rich guy, a Nigerian actor to play that part. Okay. Um. So yeah, and you don't see that much often now, where you see African Americans cast in roles that are non okay non African American roles. You rarely see that now.
You rarely
You know,
see it.
right? You rarely see that now. Hardly ever. You know. Um. So there you go. Um. So it's a different thing. It's a different time, and as I said before, um, you have to live it to know it. You know. And you know what? Let's be honest. That movie wasn't about Stephen Biko. It was about the white guy. But
1,000%. 1,000%.
right. But
They misled us. They deceived us.
right. He's always going to be about Stephen Biko, and then it turned out it's
It was about
about
the
this
journalist.
white guy escaping for freedom. And they go, the white guy escaped for freedom. He's a white guy. He could just walk out of the country. What
Yeah.
Where's he got escape from?
Right, right, right. Steve was just a bait to draw us in.
Right. Damn, been tricked again.
Yeah, tricked again, tricked again. But back to Sylvie's Love. We're gonna wrap it up with Sylvie's Love.
Yeah.
What would you give it a 5 stars? How many out of 5 stars?
5 stars? I'll give it a 3.
Give it a 3?
Oh, 5 stars? Okay, 5 stars. I'll give it a 4.
Give it a 4. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. I'll give it a 4. Yeah. I mean, One Night in Miami, I'll give it a 5. One Night in Miami is spectacular.
Oh, wow.
Wait till you see it. I just think it's spectacular. Um, Ma Rainey, I'll give it maybe a 3, and only reason for that is because I think they overcame most of the shortcomings of an August Wilson play, but not nearly enough.
Mm-hmm.
I always have a problem with August Wilson plays, even though as I said, his plays work better in film than they do on stage because they change them around and somehow make them better.
Mm-hmm.
And also number 2, I just thought that Viola Davis is the weak link in that movie. She's not bad. I'm not saying she's bad. She's not horrible, but and it's funny. I was talking to a friend of mine who felt the same way. That she just didn't really get really into that character. She was letting her fat suit and her makeup do the acting for her. and I saw her acting in quotation marks. I it was like I saw the effort, but she didn't quite make the connection. Chadwick Boseman is amazing. Uh, Coleman Domingo always delivers, and he's an actor who a lot of people he's done a lot of work. He's done a lot of things. Um, in movies and television, like on Broadway, on stage, and on the London stage. He had a one-man show that funny, this is a true story. I was gonna have
Oh wait,
dinner with him.
before you say that, I'm gonna say well, I've already done my Rainey, but since you brought it up, I would give my Rainey the film adaptation on Netflix 5 stars. Viola Davis, she to me completely embodied the vulnerability, the sass, the sadness, the disappointment, the joy of singing the blues and what it brings to her and to her audience. The fire, the transparency. I thought she totally lived all the emotional notes. And yeah, so we differ on that.
Yeah, we differ. That's fine. That's fine.
We're individuals. Yes. Well, go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, Coleman Domingo always delivered. Glenn Turman, who's having a resurgence.
Wonderful.
I mean, this is a guy who's been around. He's been acting now. I saw an interview. First, he's been acting since he was a child on stage. Okay. And he's been in the business now. He's been acting for over 60 years.
Whoa.
And he's had ups and downs. And, he was in Fargo and had a good role in Fargo. And then he's in this and he's doing something else now. Okay. And I saw an interview with him about 2 weeks ago in the LA Times. And he said, hey, that's the nature of the business. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And now I'm working too much now. Even with a pandemic, I'm working too much now. Wow. And he, God bless him, because he's been around forever.
Yeah.
And people forget he was married to Aretha Franklin.
I know.
And I forgot about that until I read the interview, and I go like, that's right. I forgot about that. He was one time married to Aretha Franklin. I mean, you can't get blacker than that. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And the good thing is they remain friends even after they divorced, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's around forever. And then who's that guy's name? He didn't have much to do.
Oh, Michael Potts.
No, Isaiah Whitlock Jr. He was the bass player.
Michael Potts.
Oh, that's Isaiah Whitlock Jr.
No. Michael Potts portrayed the bass player.
The bass player.
Yes, Michael Potts.
No. It's Isaiah Whitlock Jr. No. I'm sure of it.
No.
I can look it up right now.
Go ahead. I'm telling you, it's Michael Potts.
Okay, maybe I was wrong. He looks like Isaiah Whitlock. Hold on.
I've been studying.
Hold on. Wait a minute. I must be losing my.
Play slow drag.
I must be losing it.
Yep.
Hold on. Hold on. You're right. It is Michael Potts. I'm wrong.
Yep.
I was so wrong. Yeah. Boy, he does look like Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Okay, I was wrong. Because I kept saying, how come he doesn't say shit? Okay.
Oh, him!
No, you're right. It is Michael Potts. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Yeah.
My mistake. Okay. All right. Wow, he sure looks like Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Yeah, all right.
I can see it.
Yeah, you can see it too. Yeah, I can see it too. I kept saying, how come they're not using him? Okay. But I want to see Coleman Domingo do a lead role in something.
Yeah, he's really good. He's very good. Yeah, you're frozen.
Hello?
Yeah, you're frozen.
What was that?
You're frozen for
Am I frozen?
Yeah, I hear you, but
Am I still frozen?
You have this face.
Uh-oh. You can hear me, but you can't see me. I can't move around.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have to end it here, just like this. Let me
Yeah.
see. Now I'm back. Am I back?
No, you're still frozen.
Well, it looks fine over here. Well, I tell you what, we'll end it here because
Yes.
I'm fine on my end. I can see myself, you know.
Okay. Um, well, anyway, I'm going to say thank you, Sergio Mims, for joining me on this Sylvie Loves Film Reaction Zoom collaboration. It was so much fun. We definitely veered off into other
I tell you
films,
what.
but we connected the dots.
All right. Okay. Well, is my face still frozen? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we'll just eat. Okay, we'll end it here. We'll end it here. I don't know what I look like, but we'll end it here. I have to see for myself. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you, but I'm gonna upload this on my YouTube channel, Coast and L Chinese.
All right.
And yeah, thank you again, Sergio. I appreciate it. It was
Okay.
so much
Thanks.
fun.
All right. Bye bye. We'll do this again
Bye.
next time soon.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.